Right, before I wrap up, I'll just mention this. There is a useful piece of annotation that's available in Java which will check whether a method overrides something. And that's this thing down here. If you just put in @override like that, it will check whether the method which follows m in this case actually overrides something in a superclass. And that's very useful because it's easy to make mistakes and not override properly. Right, if you don't override properly, you get what's called overloading. And this is just a quick view of what we'll cover next, which is overloading. Right, when you override a method, it's very important that you do not change the argument types or their order. And if you do change either of these, you'll simply get another method with the same name, which, as I said, is called overloading. A good example of an overloaded method is print, or the print line method, for instance. It can take a whole variety of different types. You can just pass it a boolean, a char array, well, a whole load of types, as you can see. So to properly identify a specific method, you need not just the name, but the argument type as well. Whatever arguments have been passed to it. You need both of those to identify a particular method. You can actually declare a method in one class and overload it in a subclass. In that case, it just means that the subclass has got two methods with the same name, one of which is inherited. And obviously they've got to take different parameter, different arguments passed them. Now to distinguish between overload and override, look at the arguments basically. When you call an overloaded method, which version gets run is determined by the type of any parameters you pass to the method. It's of course not determined by the class because that is not available to the compiler. It's the compiler which decides which of the various methods get called when there's a series of overloaded methods. So if one of the parameters is a reference, for instance, it's not going to depend on the class of the object referred to. It's going to depend on the type of the reference. And working out which overloaded method to call is done at compile time and not at runtime. Of course, that overloaded method which gets called could be overridden, in which case normal overriding rules come into play. But deciding on the method is a compile time process. It's done at compile time. If it was subsequently overridden, well, that's obviously a runtime normal overriding comes into play. Again, I'll go into all of this and it will become clearer in the next lecture, but let's just give you a view about what we're going to discuss.